for tuning in again this week, and welcome to Local Focus. Sebastian Noel, your host here, and of course, my man Josh is in the back, pushing all the buttons, making us look good here. And I know it's football season, but basketball guest again today, and we're with Johnny Nitafan from Hope. Welcome. I think the reason I really wanted to have you is we did the New Mexico games during our slow part of this summer, and that's when I was like, whoa, what happened to that scrawny little shooter? He kind of bulked up, and he was attacking the rim. So talk about your off-season a little bit.
You know, so I'm literally just getting done playing AAU. We just finished this Sunday. But throughout all of that, starting really after state, and throughout the whole season, I started working with, I've been working with Performance Ranch since last off season, and they're just a new gym, and so I've just been really working with them around 4 days a week, and they've really helped me with my speed, agility, athleticism in general, and then I've just been lifting a lot, but to match that, shooting a lot as well, to keep my shot on target, and just to keep improving my game in that sense.
But you put on some bulk, right? How much have you added?
I would say like 10 to 15 pounds. Like, there was a stretch where I was just lifting and I weighed myself about a month or two later, and I was like 15 pounds heavier. And so I've just been really trying to work on my body, because I know that that's a huge part of the game.
Now, is that something that kind of would have happened anyway, or the fact that you're going into a new district? I think when you're going to have to face teams like Valley, who are physical and are coming from one of the most physical, bigger districts in the city, a Del Norte team that likes to play pretty scrappy usually, Highlands moving into that district, they're from that physical city team or city district. So is that something that was in the back of your mind, or just a great coincidence that you're kind of bulking up now for some of these physical teams?
No, I've honestly really been trying to work on my body and bulk up, because I know that to get to the college level, I know that those guys are bigger and stronger and faster, so I need to improve as well to be able to get to that level and just dominate at this level as well. But it's always been in the back of my mind that moving up to 4A this year, or staying as well, I want to be able to show that Hope isn't just a team that could win 2 divisions down from the highest division, that we could really just prove ourselves this year, and just try to help the team as much as I can through that.
So what brought you to Hope? Obviously you didn't start there.
Yeah, well, I started at La Cueva, and I thought that Hope was just going to be a great experience for me in terms of the Christian aspect. That's really what drew me in, and at La Cueva I wasn't getting that need met, and the 2 most important things for me is God before anything else, and then basketball. And knowing that Coach Murphy just really puts that in was something that I was really drew me in, and so that's one thing that was big about it, and I wanted to be a part of a winning team. I knew that Coach Murphy had the would give me the tools to be able to do that, and the Christian aspect in the school is another part that really brought me in there. So those are a lot of the reasons why I transferred.
So obviously it's easy for guys like us to admire Hope from a distance. We see all the tradition and the history, but you see that from the inside. So when you first get there, first practice, first game, what happened? Was it everything you expected, or was it even more?
It's definitely what I expected. When we would play Hope, I knew that they were super disciplined, and that they ran plays like crazy. And so when I first start getting there, our first preseason practice, we get ran to death, and then and I knew defense was a huge key as well. And so during the off season, we run a lot of sprints, and we work on defense a lot. And so when we go into the season, it's just we're a lot more in shape than most teams, and we've been doing it ever since the beginning of school. And so I think that's one thing that I was expecting, and my expectations were met.
Did you have a moment where you're like, wow, okay, this is even more serious than I thought? I mean, the first time you step into Barry Ellert Gymnasium there, you see there's not a lot of room left on the walls for championships, right? I mean, when did that hit you?
Like when I really was starting to get work in and ask coach, like, could I get in the gym? I would just go in there, and then I would just start looking at all the state championships around the gym, and it's just like, I really need to continue this tradition, because I know that people talk about the 2012 team that wasn't able to do it, and those players come back and they're just like,
are they shunned? That was going to be my next question, right?
Yeah. So
how does it? What if you're the one guy that didn't win one at Hope? Right?
Yeah,
are they shunned? Are they? Oh, well, that's those guys from 2012. I mean, talk about that.
Yeah. So actually, Micah Murphy was a part of that team, and before this state championship came, right before we were gonna play our first game in the pit, he came and said, "You don't want to have that feeling, because you're part of this tradition that wins state championships, and if you lose, it's just heartbreaking." And he was telling me all that he could think about was winning the next state championship his senior year. And so those people, like, when you're a part of this winning tradition and you don't win, like, there's definitely some leverage that other players have on you, and it's just like, they'll bring it up for sure. And so, yeah, it's tough.
Does Coach Murphy ever bring it up? If there's ever a bunch of a group, so you're like, those are the black sheep from that one year. I mean, does that ever happen?
Yeah, well, there's sometimes, like, not really, but
are they afraid to show their face at home?
No, they come, but like what keeps us motivated really is when Coach Murphy will talk about those teams, and they had the capabilities.
With disgust? Is he just disgusted at them?
No, it's just something just to learn from, because you don't want to be a part of that. You don't want to be a part of that team that didn't get it. And especially since we're on a 7-peat or 6-peat now, looking to a 7-peat, we want to be the team that is able to make that state record, and that's like really what's been driving us ever since this offseason started.
So what do you think from an insider, what goes into all that tradition and all that history? I mean, from the outside, we've always kind of seen, okay, the team goes from one group of guys, like maybe a Jordan Leak team, to a Marcus Medina team, and then we kind of talked about that last year at the beginning, who's going to take over the leadership of the team last year, and obviously that happened, and you guys found your identity and you hit your stride, but how does that work from the inside, from an insider?
So honestly, it starts from the week after state. Coach Murphy starts the spring tournaments, and we play every weekend of spring, and then it goes into summer, and we have some summer practices, but we're playing tons of games. And so the chemistry is really built through all those games that we play, and I think that is a huge reason for Hope's success.
All right, we're going to take our first time out here. When we come back with Johnny, we're going to recap that last year. When did they kind of hit their stride? When did they know that, okay, we got a special group? We'll go take it all the way through to the pit and raising another blue trophy. We'll be right back. All right, we're back with my guest, Johnny Nitafan of Hope Christian. Let's go through last year.
Okay.
Take us to the beginning. Obviously, the expectations at Hope are always the same, a championship. And then season gets started, and you guys always play that killer schedule. And some people started talking, okay, this might be the year. Do you hear any of that outside noise, or are you guys just focused? Take us through the first, I'd say, third of the season.
We start the preseason, and Coach Murphy and Coach Lon were talking a lot about this is probably the best team we've had in years, and possibly better than the Jordan Leak team. But so we had high expectations coming in, but we weren't really gathering together and playing as a team. And so our first game comes around, we play Valley, and we win pretty easy. And so after that game, we were like hyped. We were like, we're going undefeated and all this stuff. And then we come and play Rio Grande, and that was a tough game, but
that was the first time, I think I read, that was the first time Rio Grande had ever gotten you guys.
Yeah, and so that was just humbling, and we just took that punch and we're like, okay, well, this isn't going to be just a pushover year where
What does Murph say when you lose a game against Rio Grande? What does Murphy say?
We came back and the practice the next day, like all of our heads were hanging low, but he really kept encouraging us, saying that we're still the team that he thinks is like one of the best teams that he's had talent-wise. And so he kept encouraging us through the process and through losing, but we definitely heard the noise because Bernalillo started amazing, and so we definitely heard that, like, Bernalillo, this is their year, and so that's what motivated us and drove us in practice, and that was a huge thing that we kept hearing. And then I go to a church with this guys that's really close to the Silver coach. They're brothers or something, and so I kept hearing Silver and how they're doing, and oh yeah, this is Silver's year, and so all this talk was going through, like, I was definitely hearing it, and so but we were able, to win it.
So Metro tournament starts. You guys, are on a side of the bracket that you're not used to seeing. I believe it was against Sandia where Chris had a shot to win it at the end.
That was the Albuquerque Academy.
And then again at Albuquerque High, right? It was a couple of games where the ball was in his hands at the end.
Yeah.
And you guys lose some close games. So what does that do to your team's psyche? And then what does that do to a guy like Chris Ward, who had the ball in his hand a couple of times at the end, came up empty both times? How does Coach Murphy kind of rebuild his confidence and rebuild your confidence as a team?
He was able to build his confidence back up by saying that maybe wasn't his shot to take, especially 3 times having it with Sandia and then Albuquerque High. But it wasn't like his fault because, the ball was obviously passed to him. But and all he could do was take that shot, but just really developing the inside game, because that's what he does. He just monsters in the paint and gets offensive rebounds like crazy. And so, but really building a lead towards the beginning of the game and throughout the game, that we don't even have to be in that position that we even have to shoot a 3 to go into overtime. So, yeah.
The season starts heading towards the Hope tournament and then district play. Obviously, you guys play such a tough schedule early in the year. Do you feel by the time you hit the tournament and then district play, okay, this is almost a blessing because we've played the toughest 6A schools in the city, and now we kind of get to settle into our own district? Does the mindset change at that point? Are you guys pretty confident always heading into district?
Yeah, we've been confident heading into district because, the mindset kind of changes, and I could definitely see it in Murphy's eyes. Like the 5 in, 5 out, we did that all district, but I know that these teams aren't as tough and aren't as height-wise big and the athletes that we've seen. But it's definitely, we definitely see the change in it, our schedule wise.
So then we get to the tournament. State tournament comes out, seeding and selection. You guys see that weird number in front of Hope that wasn't the number 1.
Yeah.
And I know some of us, we talked ourselves into. I was one of them. I'll admit it. I was foolish enough to talk myself into, okay, this might be the year someone else finally wins it. And some guys actually picked against you guys. What's the message going into the tournament from Coach Murphy?
He's just saying win one game that is ahead of us, and then we move on to play whoever. But the message going in was you don't want to be that team that loses it, and you already are the underdogs, basically. You already are the 3rd seed. They obviously don't respect you, so you're playing to get that respect back. And so, but it's just focusing on the game that's ahead of us. And so when we played Robertson, that was the game ahead of us. And then we moved to Portales, and we're like, oh, this is the 4th time we've played them. But then we're like, we got to win this game. And then we move on Silver, and we're like, we see it in the newspaper, and he read that to us, and that they want to take out the Goliath, and we're like, that's not going to happen. And so just focusing on that game, winning that game, and going into Bernalillo, we're like, this is the final showdown. This is what we've been working for all season, is the state championship. And so just winning each game and winning every loose ball. And so it was a great experience.
So I did the Portales game, and what us at Proview, what we tend to do is the announcers talk a lot to each other, and so I had the privilege of doing that first game, and then one of my colleagues does, I believe he did your last two, and so he called. He said, "Hey, how do they look?" And I said, "It's the same exact thing. There's no chance these guys are going to lose." I said, "The way that Colin's playing right now, there's no athletic ability on the floor to match Chris, and then they can kick it out to you, and there's plus you factor in Murphy, you factor in the defense." I told my colleague Ed Nunez, I said, "There's no chance that someone else is going to win this. We were all wrong." It's the same Hope team. Yeah. Do you guys have that feeling after your first couple of matchups, or are you still just taking it one at a time?
Yeah. We still had that same mindset of like, this is going to be the year, we're going to do it again. And so, it was good that we were able to follow through with that.
Then you take us to the championship against Bernalillo. Obviously, you come out, you punch Bernalillo right in the mouth, and they don't respond at all. How special of a game was that? It
was really cool because it just brings chills to me again. The first time I walked down the pit floor watching the 3A game, I just looked around and I was like, this is crazy, all these people here. And then when we started warming up, I look around again right before the tip, and it was just like, this is ridiculous, but everybody's wearing red. And it was just like, what the heck? And so when you look up in like to the pit, we basically have this one strip of green and black, and we're just like, and what I told the guys before that, like right before we tipped off, is everybody's against us right now. Even the Espanola people that are coming in, they're against us. They're cheering for them. And when they're like, give it up for Bernalillo, everybody in the gym went crazy. And then they're like, give it up for Hope, and you just hear like a few claps. And
golf clap.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so that's one thing that like we're even motivated right before the game, that everybody's against us, but we still want to come out on top despite all that adversity.
And it seems every year there's a special performance in the state tournament from a Hope guy.
Yep.
I can remember watching Marcus Medina's game, and he just went into this other zone, and he couldn't be stopped even after he was on the floor and bleeding after he got fouled. Mm-hmm. He couldn't be stopped, and that reminded me of the Jordan Leak when he took over. And then all of a sudden, you're on the floor. Describe what was happening. Describe Chris Ward's game, because he went into that zone, didn't he?
Yep. And so honestly, it's how the game was playing. And so my game is like a lot of times to shoot that outside shot, but what was happening was like we were able to get by the defense pretty quick, or it'd be a foul. And so when we were able to go in, we were able to dish to Chris quick, and he was just getting and ones like crazy, finishing. And so it was just the flow of the game. And when we drove, it felt like it was always an and one, because we were finishing like very well.
And like, of course, you guys lift another trophy.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a final time out here. When we come back, Johnny's going to have his top 5 list. We're going to go Coach Murphy for this top 5 list. Top 5 things we don't know about Coach Murphy when we come back. All right, welcome back. We've been talking hoops here with Johnny Nitafan of Hope Christian, and it's time for tonight's top 5 list. Johnny's got the top 5 list, and we wanted to go with Coach Murphy because we're big Coach Murphy fans here at Proview Networks. He's always been really good to us. So we decided we'll have top 5 things that maybe we don't know about Coach Murphy, and you're going to provide those for us, right?
Okay, yeah.
All right, number 5.
Okay, not many people know that Coach Murphy has won a softball state championship. And then...
What position? Do you know what position he played?
No, he coached it.
Oh, he coached. Okay,
he coached it.
Right,
so
wow.
Everyone thinks that he's like this basketball guy, but he played baseball and basketball in college, and coached softball, and so he coached at the softball position. Oh wait, he coached a state championship for that.
Well, there you go. Number 4.
He loves home improvement shows, but he doesn't even own a hammer.
So he just watches that channel all the time. When he's not watching Proview Network, so I know he's a huge fan. He watches us a lot. But when he's not, then he's watching home improvement shows. Okay, number 3?
3, he can do tons of pull-ups. Like, he probably can do more than 75% of the program at Hope can do. He's very fit for what he does.
So he's out there with you guys, and he's smoking most of you guys?
A lot of us, like, he'll demonstrate on how to, like, do different things, and so it's pretty
Does he
fun.
do more pull-ups than you?
No.
Right. Okay. Coach, if he's lying, you let us know. All right, we'll set that up. We'll bring some cameras. Josh, road trip, right? We'll take some cameras. We'll have a pull-up challenge right there at Hope. All right, number 2?
2, he doesn't know how to use technology very well.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, he's old school, and so we were just on a road trip to Las Vegas, and I saw him FaceTiming his daughter, but his phone was like right in his face, and it was like all you could see is like his one eye, and so, but it was funny, and yeah, he's not the technical guy.
I could tell 2 ways that I could tell that. One, I remember the very first Hope game I ever did. I wanted to talk to him about a couple of things before I did the game, and so I texted him, and I was like, oh, maybe he's not a texter, and I called him, and no, nothing, and then I emailed him, no, nothing, and so, oh man, maybe this guy's a jerk, and no, it wasn't that. He just doesn't, he's not really into that. He's like, oh, you should have just came by the office. I was like, oh, now I know.
Yeah.
And then I've seen him also at a basketball game, where he's with myself, and he was with Roger Holian, who's familiar with the Hope program, and he's a football guy as well. And I remember Coach Murphy wanted to watch some football game, and he's like, well, Roger, why don't you get that going for me on my phone? and so Roger set that up for him. All right, number 1, right? We're down to number 1. What's the number 1 thing we don't know about Coach Jim Murphy?
He can't spell very well. And
not a speller. Hey, that's all right. My boss Adam Deal's not a speller. So
that's all right. It's kind of funny because earlier on in the season, he spelled my name Johnnnie, and that's the first time I've ever seen that spelled. And so, and then he spelled my last name Nitifan, and I was like, that's interesting. And so, but then the first time I see myself in like the newspaper, I see it spelled that way, and I was like, all right, I kind of gotta tell him, because I didn't know I was gonna go out in like the public and like that my name is spelt that way. And so it was funny because a few people were like, hey, I saw you in the newspaper, but I didn't know you spelt your name like that. I was like, I didn't, just misspelt.
So that's the top 5 things that we did not know about Jim Murphy. I would have never guessed that he's not a speller. Well, now we know, right? Wow. So what are the goals this year? Obviously, you guys work a ton during the summer. What are the goals going into the season? Other than the obvious, which at Hope is always a championship. What are some goals for you individually? For me individually, I was able to break the 3-point record in a game with 8. So that was really cool, but I'd like to see myself break that again possibly. I'd really like to break the in-season record. I tied it last year, and so I want to be able to just break that a lot. And then I got so close to breaking the free throws in a game. I hit 14 and it's 15, but that game I went 14 for 19 from free throw, which was not very good. So that could be also the 1,000-point club. That's something that is like special at Hope, and so for people that aren't familiar with Hope, I mean, it's all over the gym, right? When you get in there, records and stuff.
Yep.
That's obviously a huge deal there, right?
Yep. And so it was cool when I was able to see my name on the plaque for most threes in a game, and then tied for a season. But I'm just under 500 for the 1,000-point club, and so that's something I'd really be honored to be able to get. And then team-wise, obviously another state championship, going into a tougher district, winning a district title again, and then we'd love to get those blue shirts and win Metro this year. That's something that they're always talking about at the beginning of the year, is we want to be able to win that Metro tournament. And so
I know we're pretty excited. Usually, we do a few Hope games early in the season, Metro tournament. Then we love doing your tournament, and then we kind of don't see you until the tournament starts because we're not in that district a lot. But that's going to be a pretty fun district with Del Norte, Highland, Valley in that district. Is that something you guys have talked about already, or you just kind of know it, being a hoops fan in the city, that, hey, this is going to be fun?
Yeah, no, we definitely talk about it a lot because we've played a lot of the teams that are in our district. We've already played them, and so, but going into those games, Coach Murphy is always like, we got to show them who's running the district from the start and give them that first punch. And so, but we know for sure who's in our district.
Now, you already had a chance to throw out some punches at the New Mexico games, right? Because you had Del Norte in the semis, right?
Yeah.
That's a district. So was that something in your mind there?
Yeah, Coach Murphy before the game, like I said, he's like, we got to show them who's gonna be in their district and get them fearful from the start because they know that Hope's going to be on their schedule.
So, with Hope we don't see you guys as much during the district year and things like that. But I do see occasionally you and Isaiah around on your days off watching other teams play. So who are some of the guys that you like to watch play? I know we just had DeMarcus Sutphin in last week. We had Jalen Domina Lovato in previously. So who are some of the teams and individuals you enjoy watching when you guys go out and watch? I know hoopsters respect each other a lot. You guys respect each other's games. Who are some of your guys in the city?
I'm still pretty close friends with La Cueva, so I follow them a little bit. At Volcano, I'll follow them, and at Atrisco. So, but I honestly, I'm down to watch a good game or a good district game, and so occasionally I'll go to the La Cueva El Dorado rivalry game because that's something I kind of miss, is that rivalry type environment, and it's cool to see all those student sections just get fired up for those games. And so definitely those three.
That's a game, by the way, you can catch right here on Proview Networks. We're always at El Dorado La Cueva games. But in that district with out-of-town opponents, is it tough to get up for district opponents because you don't know them, they're not in your community, versus when you're in a district with guys in your city that are some of your friends? Like DeMarcus tells the greatest stories about how when he faces Anthony Chavez and he faces all these guys in your city. Is that a little different in your district, since your district rivals are sometimes not familiar faces, right?
Yeah, honestly, it's totally different coming from La Cueva, where you usually know most people that you're playing against, but you go out of town and you're like, I don't know who these guys are, but we just gotta.
You're just here to beat them.
Yeah, we're just we're literally just like, when we go to Portales, we're there for basketball, and it's a pretty far drive. So, but it's a different environment, and home court advantage is real, and we were able to handle them pretty heavily at home the first time. But when we went there, it went into it was very close, and then a last-second shot was able to win it. But it's definitely tough taking those 2 to 3 hour road trips to just go play a district game.
All right, lastly, before we finish here, Johnny, do you ever think about the pit, that moment? We talked about it. Jordan had that crazy game. Marcus was in the zone. Last year, you were right there when Chris just went off. Do you ever have those thoughts okay, what if I'm in the zone next year? Have you thought that? Has that happened in your mind?
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely happened in my mind. And during the off season, that's something that's really driving me, is to be able to perform at my best and play the best basketball I have in the pit and in those big moments, whether it's a district championship or a metro championship, or if it's in the pit for the state championship. That's always going through my head, is I want to be that guy.
Well, we hope we're there to chronicle that. Thank you very much for coming in this week, and good luck this season. That's Johnny Nitafan from Hope. He's looking for another blue trophy, make some more history there at Little Hope, the basketball powerhouse that is here in Albuquerque. Thanks for joining us this week, and good night.